Anyway, we're grateful to be here. Thank you for having us here. Where did Bonnie go? There she is, back there. And it's great to see a lot of people that we know that have traveled with us from the Denver area. Gage and Tony, you guys just got back from Yellowstone yesterday?
Yeah.
Can I ask how it was in front of everybody, because we weren't on the tour?
Yes, it was outstanding.
Okay, I was a little nervous there for a second. You were so excited about it.
Right word, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm tired, sorry.
Yeah, you guys just got in. So they were just on tour with us yesterday, our group, but we weren't on it. But yeah, so we were coming in for the travel show. We met Doug and Alicia, Lonnie, Gage, Inslee at the travel show 2 years ago. We met Reed and Linda, I don't know, 4 years ago. I don't know. We met all you guys at travel shows, a lot of you guys. And so when Lonnie mentioned to me about the camera club, we love doing stuff like this. We love coming out, sharing our passion with people, sharing a little bit about what we do, kind of helping people understand the idea of when you travel and you photograph, a lot of the ins and outs of that. Tonight, what we'll do is we'll go through our program. We'll share a lot. We're happy to take questions as well. Literally, guys, when you walk out of here tonight after the next hour and a half or so, we hope that you come out of here inspired. Really, that's what our goal is. You're going to learn some things, but be inspired. Real quick, we always have to thank Bay Photo. Some of you guys that do printing, you've worked with Bay Photo. This is who sponsors us all over the place. And when we go out, they've been very, very generous for us and our clients. So we always want to thank Bay Photo. If you're looking for a great lab, they're it. They're amazing. All right, so our mission today. We are going to give you a sense of urgency to travel the world. Now, some of you may be a little nervous about traveling the world. Hopefully, by the end of the night, you're like, you know what? I can do that. I'm going to take baby steps. I'll go to Italy first, all right, before Mongolia or something like that. But we're going to hopefully inspire you to see. And one of the things that we want to do tonight is we want to inspire you to see uniquely. And that what I mean by that is as you can. We all see differently. Everybody in this room sees differently. Just because Ally and I are professional photographers and been doing this for 36 years, that's amazing because you're only 25. Crazy. But one of the things that happens on our photo tours that we see all the time is that people are so unique in how they see something. The technical side can be taught, but it's so cool to see that other people see uniquely, and you have your own gift of how you see and can share the world with others. We want to help you understand the need for cultural exchange across the globe. More now than ever. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to create an understanding that the world needs your gifts as a photographer and a human being. We're going to share some stories from around the world, some images, and we're going to share with you tools about traveling as well as photography and mixing those two things together. And this is big. We're going to be available to help you guys now and in the future. What do I mean by that? What I mean is it's whether you go on a tour with us or not. I mean, we hope you do, obviously. But look, we're all in this together. And at the end of the day, if you've got a question, you're going somewhere, maybe it's a place we've been and you're going on your own and you've got a question or you need a guide in a certain location, you're not quite sure what to do, we're only an email away. For those of you that are our clients, you know that I usually answer emails way too often. As my wife says. But I do. I'm adamant that we're here to help you guys, all right? So a lot of the times, you guys will have a question, please email us. Email us. All right. We're happy to help you. All right. And the world awaits you. So you're going to see a lot of Mongolia photos tonight. That's on purpose tonight because we've got so many of you that have been to Mongolia with us. In fact, we have Oso, who is our guide all the way from Mongolia, sitting right here. This is Mongolian Oso. Yeah. And what's really cool about Mongolia is I'm going to say we have folks in here, Reed and Linda, went on our very, very first trip to Mongolia ever, right? And then we have folks that have just been recently, and we have folks that are going this year to Mongolia. So pretty exciting stuff. And we'll talk a little bit about Mongolia. But I want to talk about why you. So one of the things that happens tonight is when we talk about things, this program is about you folks. It would be easy for us to sit up here, and I'm sure you've seen not only here, but in a lot of places when you go to see a photographer speak, it's here's my photo, here's my photo, here's my photo, me, 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 me. And we're going to show you some of our images. We're going to show you those things, and we're going to share with you our passion, but it's about you. Everything that we want to bring you tonight is really about you, because what I've got listed up here, you guys, like I said, you're unique. Each and every one of you has a unique gift, has a way that you see things, has a way you see the world, has a way you photograph, right? And you can relate to others with your own giftings that nobody else can, right? You have a sphere of influence around you that will never touch family, friends, people. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, because of our travels around the world, I know that if more people experienced and then shared those things around the world, we would be in different situations than we are right now. I really believe that. The more people travel, the more they see through somebody else's filters, the more they're less judgmental, and the more we come together, and the more I like to say we like to break bread together. We end up being friends. That's huge. And that's what I'm talking about there. You're going to have that influence, and you can really help make the world a better place by traveling and photographing. And it's interesting because as we start going down this road here about travel and photography, if you would have asked Ally and I, when we started this business that we do now, if you would have asked us in 2011 or 12, first of all, if they would have asked us, we would have been 7 continents, taking over 3,000 people around the world. We would have both been, I don't know, you probably would have said, sure. I would have been like, I don't think that's going to happen, right? You talk a lot? Yeah. She's got her whole, she's waiting for her slides. I'll get there. Right? But yeah, I would never have thought we would have come to this point where we're at now. But the biggest thing about it all for us is that it's not just the photographs. It really is the relationships we built around the world, the experiences we've had. The photographs, photography is a glue that's brought us together. But at the end of the day, all these experiences, that's what's life-changing. It really is. Well, it scared me. And why now is the time? We saw what happened with COVID. We saw that literally overnight the world changed. Literally overnight you couldn't travel. And there were people that went through that will never ever get the chance to travel, that missed it. But we have that chance. And it says we're at pre-pandemic, not anymore. We're there. We're busier than busier now, getting busier. But this is going to shape your life, and it may not be here for you tomorrow. So go now. If you're nervous, go now. Take a step. Go with a small group, So as we go through this, as far as photography goes, this is a big one, by the way. I can't afford it excuse. The I can't afford it excuse. People always ask us, well, who are your competitors in what we do? It's not other photography tour groups and workshops. Our competitors are hot tubs, dirt bikes, fun things. Why? Because expendable income. And it's amazing how many times people, I can't afford this. And at the same moment, they're putting something on their credit card that will have no intrinsic value to the rest of their life. And I know it sounds harsh, but it's really true. And it's important to have these experiences. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we talk about in our groups is, are we a workshop or a tour? And if you're out looking for somebody to go photograph with and do this with, our specific idea of what we do is really based on a tour. And why I say that is a workshop lends to that idea of it's intense, intense, intense. It's nonstop intensity. Who's got the best gear? That kind of thought process. What we want for you to experience culture, wildlife, these places, and photography. You're learning, you're gathering, and we're doing all that together. But it's really about, we call it our 4 ingredients: friendship, It's photography, travel, friendship, and adventure. And Pam, what's the other one?
The C word? No, the C, oh yeah, the F word too, but the C word, you want the F word or the C word?
Ah,
Grandson's here.
what was the C word? Oh, corruption. Oh, yeah. That's when we've had a little bit of few drinks. The F word, though, is not as bad as they think.
Yeah.
What's the F word? What's the F
I
word?
thought Kim was saying, oh, I'm sorry, no, flexibility.
Flexibility. As you can see, we have fun on our trips. And it's also important to understand it's not just the technical side. So a lot of workshop situations are technical. But if at the end of the day, by the way, this looks a lot better on my screen than it does on here. So hopefully later, if you guys want, I'll send you this PowerPoint presentation if you'd like, because there's going to be a lot of information in here that you might want to have. But again, that emotional experience that you're having, that is what should feed your photography. I don't care how good you are with shutter speeds and f-stops and all that stuff, and how big your camera is and how much money you spend on your camera. That's all great. But at the end of the day, if you are not having that experience, if you are not meeting with folks around the world and experiencing something, that is what is going to pull you into then lifting that camera up to your eye, feeling something and pushing that shutter. And now you have a story. Does that make sense? That's what we're going for. Okay, Andy.
Photographing culture. So it's been a big learning curve, and we've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot of do's and don'ts.
It's obviously really important not to present yourself as, I'm an American, I'm here to take your picture.
That sounds like John.
I mean, that was an exaggeration, but you know what I mean by that. You want to be respectful of people's cultures. Different people have different ideas and feelings about being photographed. It's a great idea to put yourself in their shoes. So let's just say you're sitting in your living room and you see someone pointing a camera through your front window to photograph you. How would you feel about that? That's probably not okay. So we want to feel out the culture. We want to talk to our guide and understand what's okay and what isn't, as far as people photographing people. Okay. You just don't want to be so, like, you don't want to ever assume that it's okay, because it may not be. And with that said, we get a feeling for cultures. Like even when we were just in Vietnam and Cambodia, most people are very friendly and wave, and that gives you a feeling that maybe it's fine. Like if one of the main things is eye contact. Like if you get the eye contact and you smile, that's step one. Step two is point to your camera. If you don't speak their language, point to your camera and say, that's pretty self-explanatory, right? And we had a street vendor in Vietnam, an older lady, say, so that's obvious, but just be sensitive about it. And especially with children, you don't want to be photographing children without the parents around and the parents being okay with it, being sensitive with those things. So yeah, that is step one with etiquette, I call it. Etiquette as far as being just thoughtful about not wanting to grab that shot and run.
That's right after that was shot I just took of you, was taken. So this one here is in that same area. And that's a good example.
Oh yeah, this little guy's parents were around, and we're having a lot of fun watching these kids running around and playing hide and seek. They were running barefoot up, little dirt paths and just sending their little cars flying down, and really just having a blast. Like some of us grew up, right?
Yeah, but we didn't grow up having chores.
You had fun.
And we did. Our kids now don't. That's hard.
So this is another point. So they're playing, having the time of their life outside playing. And I think that's a really great thing. And I had posted a picture of some of these children on social media, and one person had commented, "Oh, they're so cute. I want to adopt them." And I'm like, well,
Such an assumption, right?
they had parents. They have a really great life.
May not be our life.
And what's their screen time? Their screen time? 0. They're living a good life. And they do have some chores, which I think it's a good thing when the whole family contributes to the meal.
And with that, just speaking into that, you know, we will come across situations. This isn't one of them. This is a little Messiah baby that you photographed, but I do want to speak as in terms of children and poverty. We see a lot of poverty around the world, a lot. Okay. But that assumption of, well, we just need to adopt these kids or this or this or this. Again, you have to put things in perspective. And one of those things is again, that some of these kids, the Messiah are a good example, I think, Allie, that we see. Like, we don't need to just go in there and change their culture and the way that they think or the way that they are, right? And we've become very good friends with a lot of Messiah people.
Yeah, so their
Yeah.
culture in Tanzania, and they live in dung huts.
I mean, I don't want to live in a dung hut.
They have no running water. We're meeting with the tribe, and this little girl comes out. I think she woke up from her nap, and she came out and she started walking across this area. And I was just like, my heart was pounding, like, I gotta get that picture. I photographed this in black and white infrared, and just, do you guys ever get that feeling when you're photographing a certain image? You get this like rush, like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy right now. This is exactly what I had in mind, or better. Yeah, so that was what happened there. And this was in Cambodia. The previous trip, we visit a floating village. And this is their culture. They live on the water. They live on floating houses, floating boats.
I want to just show them, you see how different it looks on our computer, right? Okay, just so you get an idea. And when we send you the PowerPoint, you'll be able to look at these images because, again, we lose so much resolution here. I just wanted you to see that in her black and white infrared.
Yeah,
this is amazing.
Yeah. So this is their village. Behind her is a produce store right there. And so how do kids get to school when they live on the water? She's rowing herself to school. Isn't that amazing? So I always take a number of images until, you know, I feel like the balanced one happened, and we can decide that later. But while the moment's happening, shoot, recompose, shoot, and got that.
Yeah.
I'm going to school.
So when we're photographing culture, and those that have been to Mongolia can attest to this, but also other places in the world with us. But you guys know that have been to Mongolia, you know that as soon as these guys start riding up to us, everybody's cameras are like up, right? It's like, because it's crazy. And you want them up. But I will always speak to our group and I will say, guys, all right, takes a few shots, but I want you to put your camera down. Sometimes people ask us, what's your number one rule on your photography tour? And it's put your camera down. What? But the reason is if you're doing this the whole time, you're looking through that, you're not, again, taking it in, right? You're not taking those moments in. Sometimes, like Allie, she's sitting there talking about photographing that little girl in the village. We were just in that same water village in Cambodia just about 3 weeks ago. And I looked over at one point when you don't even know this, but I looked over, and it's one of the things I love about my wife is that she's got such an incredible eye when she photographs. But one of the things that she does is she'll sit and she'll take it in and she'll just be sitting there smiling. And I'll see that. I think, man, that's so amazing. So that brings me into this. Sometimes we're on a photo tour. So it's like, but we gotta be taking it in. And one of the big things that we talk about, and Osa knows this from us being our guide in Mongolia, how adamant I am about this with the eagle hunters. They are not a commodity. They are our friends. What I mean by that is a lot of photo workshop stuff is it's a transaction. That's all it is. I'm paying you, run your horse and your eagle. Thank you very much. And that's what it becomes. That's like the worst to me, right? Like, it cannot be just a transaction. Now, do we take care of those folks? Of course we do. Of course we do. But it's become so much more than that for us. It's become so much more from the very first time we met them, when you guys were with us, to the last time we were just recently there, right? It's just become so much more. And it's because I believe that we don't treat them as a commodity, that we are friends. I got a text today from a Maasai warrior in Tanzania. Now, the Maasai will tell you that they don't have phones. I'll just tell you bullshit. They do. Except when you're around. Okay. But I got a text today from the Maasai. I also got a text today from Hokkaido, Japan, from a guide there. I also got a text today from Kyrgyzstan. Like, to me, that doesn't happen. And none of it was transactional. Hokkaido, Japan was, this is a photo of a bird I got today. Maasai from Malel and Maasai. The Maasai is one of the warriors' kids. He sent a message. He said, you met him. You actually met Malel. He was one of the guys that walked around with us, John and Kim. You wouldn't remember which one he is. He's one of the guys in the red. Yeah. He sent a message. How are you guys today? How are you doing? He sent me a message. We were in Cambodia, and I said, we're good. We're in Cambodia. And he goes, what's Cambodia? I sent him a picture of us in front of the jungle temple, and he's like, wow, but you think about that. That's all this. It's not pay. It's not that. And that leads to much, much better photographic opportunities for you as well. So always remember this, that we're dealing with human beings. It's not a commodity situation. It's not a transaction situation. It's about, at the end of the day, can we, as I say, break bread together? Also, just because you're here, just share just real quick. I wasn't planning on this, but you sent me a text recently and said, man, what you've built here is crazy. And
yeah, well, I just
speak loud.
I agree just what David said. Well, I texted him. Well, because I was told it was from the eagle hunters. Now it's like becoming more than friends. It's from the heart, from there. You just go there and take the picture and go back. That's just kind of, there's like an invisible wall there. But for us, it's more than that. So now the eagle hunters tell us, and also they start to speak from the heart. So even like sometimes we even think of it, they would say the different angles or not different things. Okay, what about if we run, or if we do this, if you guys shoot that? That's like if you like just go there and pay and take picture, they wouldn't say anything like that. But now they talk from the heart. So
yeah.
So photographing culture, we love it. We do always take care of the people that serve us as far as tipping goes. You can get a feeling from a guide of what's appropriate. A cardinal rule is don't tip children unless it's okay with their parents, if parents are around. Otherwise, it could potentially look really shady. Things like that. Just think about, again, put yourself in their shoes, kind of thing. And David recently added this, you know, our dream is to come around a corner, and then there's this perfect local dressed in the local clothes, look like smoking a cigar, and the smoke's puffing up, and you're like, oh, my dream shot. But sometimes there are locals that dress in the cultural clothes with the intention of being photographed, and we just wanted to touch on that, and we're okay with that, and we're okay with paying them to take their picture. It's still a really, you know, a great storytelling piece to
Still authentic.
your whole group of images from that country. So how that goes is she's weaving yarn or something, and
That's just outside in Jordan. That's going in the backside of Petra.
yeah, and David makes a transaction beforehand, like, you need to take your picture and then hand them a little bit of money, and then she's like, oh, okay. But yeah, and we're okay with that, but it's just it gets you some really colorful images sometimes.
It's funny because
Yeah.
sometimes people walk around and they have this, I'm not going to tip anybody. It's like, what? This beautiful little lady out here. I don't mind giving her a couple bucks. And then we find out those couple bucks sometimes is what fed their family that day. Now, there's generosity, and then there's just being stupid handing out money, right? But there's being a generous spirit when you're out with people is okay. That's all right. I've heard, don't tip the locals. Why? Why not? I mean, you know, $2 for us is a meal for them. I get it all the time. I had somebody email me before our last Vietnam and Cambodia trip, and they literally said, I don't typically tip over 10% unless it's really good service, and then it's 15%. And I think your tipping instructions are way too much. We were talking about $300 for 14 days of travel to tip all of our guides, to tip just anywhere we went on their behalf. We said, if everybody can bring $300, we'll, to our bus drivers, to our guides, and it was complaining about it. And I said, well, if you don't feel that you want to do that, we believe in generosity. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it on your behalf. Put it on them, because we're not going to let the locals like go down. But it was just like, it blew me away. Like, and at the end of that trip, I found out that person ended up giving more money to others because it sparked something.
Yeah, that's true.
So it wasn't a mean thing I was trying to do, but I was trying to educate, right?
That's true, and that's neat. There are exceptions to that rule.
Yeah.
Your guide can fill you in, like when we're driving through the towns in Tanzania. Some kids can learn that they can skip school and then go beg for money from the safari vehicles, and that's obviously a big no-no. And you don't give them candy. You can give them other types of gifts, but candy is not.
So asking your guide is what is best. A lot of times with those, so we'll say, hey, what should we do here? How should we handle this? We want to make sure. In fact, we've got a situation right now actually about this. And again, I'm just kind of going on a tangent here, but I think it's important for people to understand this idea of being generous with people that you're working with. We were sharing some stories. So in Mongolia last year, they had one of the most brutal winters they've had in 50 years, something like that. It was like 50 years. The winter was the worst in 50 years last year, right? So last year, the winter.
Oh, winter. Oh, yes, yeah. 24.
24 was the winter.
23 to 24.
Yeah. So they come off COVID, right? And then now you have all these nomads, and they have about 5 million sheep, approximately.
Yeah.
And they ended up losing about 2.5 million or something like that. And those were with us last year. You know, we talked about that. We were like, man, like if we can take care of these guys, we want to take care of them, right? So I was telling that story to somebody that was interested, not in going to Mongolia, but was just interested in the culture. And about 2 weeks ago, I opened my mailbox and there was a check for $1,000. And she sent a check without asking, without anything, and said, would you please give this to the people in Mongolia to help them with their food that they're going to need? I was like, I get shivers over that stuff. So see, when I'm talking about photography, this is for us
And she's a horse owner.
And she's a horse owner too. So, yeah. But this is, you see, I never would have thought that photography could have actually done this in people's lives. And we're just one little small part of that. It's not about us, but it's about you. Right? And it's gaining trust. This is also Mongolia. This is the shaman. There's another gaining trust. I got to say it. He needs to talk about this. I wasn't planning on this, but go ahead, share about the shaman. Because again, it's all of these things. I hope you're getting a sense of what a photo tour is like for us. It's not just click, 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 click. But go ahead. Yeah, just about the shaman, like how that happened. Like all of a sudden, they don't even allow people to photograph. And
Well, the shamanism. Well, Mongolia, we are actually Buddhist country, but before that, our belief is Hinduism, actually. So that's more likely, I would say, shamanism. This shaman, they are not choosing to be shaman, but from their ancestors, they are chosen. So that's what they believe. So they never ever get to be photographed. Actually, I don't know why, but they never do that. But these guys, well, the first one on the left, we met. Oh, well, actually, I met him like years ago, and then one day, I was talking to him, and then what about is it possible to take a photograph of him? Yeah, and then he said that. So, well, this is one of the rarest things that you could do in Mongolia.
I know you have to go back, so we didn't do that one here. Yeah, but not these are the real. So they come out. Yes, you can. But so once you gain trust, so now we go back and gain trust. And then what's cool from a photography standpoint is then you can go and you can start doing things like you gain trust. This is with a wide angle lens. And I'm literally, if you were a shaman, I'm this close down photographing. That didn't happen originally because it was like, oh, we're not allowed to photograph. Can we photograph you? And now we've developed trust and trust and trust. And so as you develop trust, but again, it comes with respect. It doesn't come with just holding the camera. It comes with respect for the traditions, wanting to find out who they are, listening to what they have to say, sharing their stories, right? Now you guys, do you remember I'm older? She was 9.
Yeah, 9.
9 years old. She's now 15. Okay. Yeah. So I'm older. She's now the greatest eagle huntress. You may have heard of the Eagle Huntress, the movie The Eagle Huntress, and the young gal Ashapon. She's following in her footsteps. She's now 15, but she was 9 when we first started photographing her, and she had a falcon. She couldn't hold an eagle, right? She's a champion eagle huntress, means that she's kicking all the older guys' butts. You guys got to meet her. Do you guys remember what happened last year with me with her? Do you happen to remember?
Yeah, she gave you her grandma's
grandfather's
the talons.
Yeah, so the eagles have these leather talons that go over, or leather covers that go over the talons, and they also have a leather eagle shield that goes over the head when they're moving them around and that. And after this picture was taken right here, her and her uncle said, "Hey, come with us," and walked into her place, and she came out and she had the leather caplet and the leather feet covers, and she said, "I want you to have these." And her uncle goes, "These were her grandfather's first ones when he was a child. They're yours." And I'm like, I have to take. So like, again, that's time and building these relationships. And it allows you then to do this. That is the very first trip that you were on. I still have yet to get this photo. This is my favorite photo. And this is those guys. And you remember this? They were having fun. Like it starts off like, go do what? And next thing you know, they're like, it's like, like if you're walking next to somebody and you're like, they're like all of a sudden starting to actually race each other, right? So we have these great times, but it comes about with building relationships and trust. Here's another great example of photographic culture. I hope you're getting the idea of photographic culture. It's not just go in, camera up, shoot, pay some money, go away, right? This one's cool. Dave, was that a long trip last year? I don't know if this is the trip that you were on last year, but
I don't think so.
I don't think it was your trip, but you've been there. It's the same guys. Hadzavi tribe.
Yeah, so the Hadzabe are obviously indigenous tribe in Tanzania, and they still live very nomadically. They follow the water and the animals and so forth, and they don't even live in huts, right? They just like hunker down under a tree and wake up in the morning and sit around the campfire, and we get to visit them. It's a really special experience. And we also visit a tribe, they're blacksmith. So they make, the Datoga make, he has a bracelet on from them.
I do, this one right here.
So they recycle scrap metal, they melt it down and they make new things. And one of the things they make is arrowheads. And I thought, why don't we bring some arrowheads to the Hadza from the Datoga?
Why do they make the arrowheads? To trade with that. They make the arrowheads.
Yeah.
No, it's important because one metal arrowhead that the Datoga makes is traded for the equivalent of usually like one zebra leg from the Hadzabe. So if the Hadzabe go and take a zebra, they'll take one whole leg, bring it to the Datoga, who will give them one arrow. So think about that, how much that arrow is worth, the transaction that's happening between the tribes. So
Yeah.
Ally has this idea.
It has high value, so we brought about 10 of these to the Hadzabe, and our guide there speaks a Click language, which is a whole nother interesting thing to hear and see. And he said, why don't we have a contest to see who can shoot their bow and arrow the best, and then they can win a arrowhead. And oh boy, did they love it.
Yeah, because all of a sudden we've got 10 of these arrowheads, right? And
so now we do it every time.
And John and Kim just experienced that. So these guys, the world is coming in. There's only about 1,000 of them left. And probably in the next 5 to 7 years, there will be none left. The average age is about 40 years old because their lives are very difficult. They get up, they hunt. I mean, last time we were there, you remember what they had in that pot that they had just killed? It was gazelle. Gazelle with a baby in it. It was lovely. and so, yeah, so that, and then they're hunter-gatherers, right? But if they fall and break a leg, they're done, right? There's no, right? But one of the fun things that happened with John, so John is a friend, John and Kim are friends of ours for 30 years. They live here in Castle Rock, down here in Castle Rock. And John's a hunter. And John, you must, I don't even know because I'm a hunter. You do musket ball hunting. Like, he's the real deal. Like, he hikes in 4 miles and all this crazy shit. But what he did is, I saw a video of this the other day. You pulled out your camera, your phone, and we're showing them one of your elk, right?
I was showing the warriors.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing we have in common.
Right.
Communication. And I showed them a few photographs, and the next thing, one of the senior warriors wanted me to shoot his weapon.
Yeah. So, and then he laughed when you did it. No. But next thing you know, he's showing an elk on his phone, and they're looking at him like because they never see it. And next thing you know, there's a relationship, and they realize the language is not going to happen. The language was, oh, you're a warrior. Here, shoot my personal.
And then I ended up with one of his arrows.
And then he ended up with one of his arrows that he brought home. Not in his luggage, not through checking. Okay. But it all started because one day Ally had a generous spirit thought was, you know what? I bet I'm going to bring these. I bet. And now it's like, they realize we care. Right? Tajikistan, this is just with you guys. This was Elder. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of this when we went to Tajikistan. So they were in the stand, Central Asia with us. You guys are going to be there. And we were in this village. I don't know if you recognize or know this yet, but we were the first Americans they had ever seen. We were it. They had never seen. And when I asked I can't think of his name, the AP photographer guy that was with us. When I asked him, and I said, and not Dawson, but the actual guy, I said, you know, have they ever been out of the village? And he's like, oh yeah. And I go, really? And he goes, oh yeah, you saw that village we passed like 10 minutes away. They've been there. But the other thing that's interesting, they had satellites for TV. They get Russian propaganda sent to them, right? That's what they get sent to them. But this gentleman was way up at the top, and we show up, and those that wanted to or could walked up, and this is the village elder, and we're standing there with this village elder, and he's just kind of like, who are you? And thankfully we had somebody obviously that's from the area, could speak the language and all that, shares with them what we're doing, who we're doing, or why we're there. And then asked would be okay to photograph. And he's got the best eyebrows ever. I mean, ever, right? But this is again is a wide angle. So there's shots back, but as we develop this kind of like mutual respect, again, make it uncomfortable. He let me get this close and photograph him. And I wasn't sure because that was his expression the whole time. Like I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to do it. And because I knew the wide angle was going to give me this kind of cool broadside here, but also the background here without me zooming in and it being compressed. And so it gave me this. And so anyway, as we were getting ready to leave and walk down, I don't have the shot here, but he walked up into his place here, into these windows, and they're blue windows, and he stood there, and it's like most perfectly framed thing. But then he asked to pray over us and say a blessing. You know? And that's what he had to give. And that's what he had to give. That's something. Yeah. And then he asked us to come back. So that's the village I want to take you to. I want you to see this driver. Right? It's a little bit of a hike to get up, but he's worth it. Okay. Just another little tool. We haven't been promoting this a whole lot, and I realized how much we missed doing this on this last trip when we were in Cambodia, because we had a guy bring one, and that is, you know, you can get these little printers now. They're small little printers that attach to your phone, and wherever you go in the world, if you take a picture on your phone, you can simply Bluetooth it and have it ready, and it prints out a thermal print. Now, when you understand that now even the Hadzabe warriors, they all have seen their photo on a phone, but none of them have ever owned an actual print. Like, look at his look. He's like, I don't want to look at the photo. I want that piece of meat. But look at these expressions, right? So again, these are the things that start building relationship and trust. This is in Cuba in a little apartment. This grandmother had never had an actual photograph of her granddaughter, ever. So something as simple as that. And when we were just in Cambodia, we were out on that lake village, river village, and I've got some video of it now too. I don't have it on here, but one of our clients, I said, you know, let's do it. And he starts taking pictures, and the kids are looking, and the mom's looking. They're on a boat. It's like a grocery store. The boat is the grocery store. They live on the boat, and it's the grocery store, meaning it's got sodas and things like that you can buy. And they're watching. He smiles for the camera. All of a sudden, this thing's coming out. He's like, mom's like, give it to him, and they're like, and then everybody's gathering around. Think about that. It's an actual print. They don't get prints. Some beautiful things that happen. Lonnie, she's got for you to take back some prints. And Osa knows this. When we go back, we always take prints and give them. What's the name of the portable printer? Let me ask. I'll talk about it in a second. I'll tell you in a moment. But it's so cool. So I want to, any of you that are traveling, we're getting back into making sure, telling people, bring these little, so when you go, bring these little printers, because you print it out, the kids, parents, everybody's thankful. It's really cool. The name of the printer, just go on Amazon and type in portable printer. There's all kinds. Believe it or not, the brand name Polaroid, which is not the original Polaroid, actually has them now as well. Kodak, all these old brands, but they're just thermal printers that will connect to your phone. They're not very expensive. So as we move forward here, we're going to talk about some necessities. Any questions up to this point from any of you guys? Why, anything on top of your head? You guys look so tired. Yes, sir.
Yeah. The portraits or photographs of people, do you ever worry about getting a release from them?
I don't worry about it. The question is, if, in case you didn't hear it, or for those of you guys on the Zoom call, the question is, do we worry about getting a release from the folks we're taking photographs from? Now, if you know, it's worldwide, and that is that if you are in a public setting, that you don't have to have a release. Now, doesn't mean you don't need a smile, but an actual release as far as for doing anything with those photographs is not actually needed. So I don't worry about it. All right. If you're in a public setting, actually, this is the cover of my new book. I have a new book coming out. This is the cover of it. This is Toby, one of our instructors, and he said he wanted royalties. And where was the release? He asked me that the other day. I'm like, yeah, dude, if you don't want to go where you go, then don't worry about it. He was just messing with me. Now, if it's a private situation, in other words, it's a private event that's being held, that can be different, and you may need to get releases for that. Okay.
Right.
So being prepared, I liken it to this. I liken it to, I'm not a big fisherman, but I kind of, this is my mindset. If you are trying to make sure your batteries are charged and your memory cards are done and everything's ready to go the day you're leaving, that's a problem. At least the night before. And I'm going to say, I'll send this to you guys, like I said, but all these things should be happening. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but all this should be ready to go. You shouldn't be leaving. We had one gal, she came, she actually stayed the night at our house. It was one of our very first trips to Italy, Gail.
Yeah, she drove from the South Bay of San Francisco. Well, she drove about 2 hours to us. Stayed the night. She was bragging about this little backpack that she bought. She loved it. She said, look how light it is. Got her camera?
Yes.
She forgot her camera. It's charging on the dresser in the bedroom or something, and like,
Whoops.
that was that on the list?
It's too late. We were leaving that morning.
We set her up with something.
Yeah, that never ever since then. Yeah. So I'll send you this, but have everything prepared. One of the things in our gear list that we go through, and it's back here, is make sure your memory cards. I see this all the time on our trips. People show up, they go, "Oh, I got a new memory card," and they slam it in there last minute. And maybe they have an older camera, and the memory card doesn't work in their camera because it's too much memory for what their camera takes. Or they just throw it in and start shooting. You want to make sure that you format and clean all of your memory cards before you actually go photograph, even brand new cards. It cleans all the directories, it gets it ready for your system. And do not share your memory cards with other people. Even if they run out, oh well. Because you're now mixing systems and you don't know all these electronics and all this stuff that are going on in there. It can, can cross-pollinate, so to speak, in not a good way.
If it's the very same model, it should be safe.
No, you're not borrowing my memory. All right, so that's our list. All right. By the way, I'm going to point out something else about memory cards. You will not see me only taking one memory card that's like a 2 terabyte memory card nowadays. You'll see me taking 3 or 4 cards, typically like 256 or 512 gigs now. And the reason for that is sometimes I am religious about downloading that night, but sometimes you're just exhausted and you're not going to get to it. But I don't want to sit there and shoot everything on one card. And then all of a sudden, if that card, for whatever reason, goes bad, because they do, or your camera falls in the water, because some people will say, well, yeah, but you have, if you have a camera with 2 memory card slots, it's got an automatic backup. Yeah, sure it does, until it falls into the water. Right? So I don't want to put everything on one card. That's my rule. All right.
We've had some that made it through the washer. What are you talking about?
Not alone.
Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, so don't do it. Oh, laptop versus iPad. We have clients that they're just bound and determined to get that lighter bag, and that's a good thing. But big trip to Botswana, we had 3 people that were bringing laptops to download to.
iPads.
Or, I
I
mean,
mean, they decided to bring their iPads.
they left their laptop, brought their iPads, and Botswana is all animals. So what are you doing with animals? Continuous shooting.
Like firing.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of images. They just weren't processing through and downloading, like a slug. Even overnight, it didn't work. It didn't work out for that type of a shoot.
I have yet to see an iPad actually work well on location like that. For the thousands of
I mean,
images.
yeah, a couple hundred pictures, yeah, but a couple thousand,
Yeah.
10,000.
David, I took one to Italy for our Italy trip.
Yeah, how'd it work
Do
out?
that again.
Mhm. Did we tell you you probably should bring a laptop?
Hopefully.
Did you listen? Because it just they don't flow. And if you're gonna do it, work it out. But like Botswana, one of the guys that was on that trip, you know, some of you in here I know are trigger happy, right? Like there's people that like shoot, you know, okay, cool. And then there's right. And today's shutters and some of these cameras, you know.
What lens did he bring?
Oh, he had his 800 and it was photographing birds.
Might as well just throw your laptop in too.
I mean,
It's this big.
right, you know, and he literally, I kid you not, I asked him one morning after a shoot, well, how many images have you taken? And he said, well, that was about 6,000. I said, okay, we've been here 3 days, 4 days. He goes, oh, no, that was this morning. What?
So the bottom line is laptops obviously much better if you're gonna download. Okay, we like to be able to download. A lot of people like to be able to download.
We like to edit.
Yes, we like to edit. However, if you really, really, really can't bring a laptop, I hope your camera has the 2 card slots. Okay, because you can bring 2 cards home. And I always say, always diversify your packing. Okay, if you downloaded your hard drives in this carry-on and your cards are in the camera bag, you know where I'm going with that. If one disappears, you still have your images. So important. So you could go home with the 2 copies of your images just on the cards they were shot on, if you really, really can't break it.
You had to.
Yeah.
But that whole idea of not having something to look at, you know, there's hard drives out now too. You can just put a memory card in and then it actually downloads to the hard drive. But again, you're not looking at those images. You don't know if something's going wrong. You don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. You're on these trips that are lifetime trips. You spend a lot of money to go on them, to not be able to look and make sure that everything is working right, to not be able to correct if you're shooting, something's off, to not be able to download. And we like to download, we keep it on the card, and we have the small SSD drives that we bring. I've got one that's plugged into his computer, but these very small SSD drives that we bring, they're super small and lightweight. And then, as Ally said, we diversify. So she'll take my memory card, I'll take hers. We'll switch hard drives, you know, because there's 2 of us traveling together.
We also see card readers fail.
yeah.
Everyone's asking, can I borrow a card reader? Make sure you bring a card reader for the different types of cards. If your camera takes 2 different types of cards. A backup card reader could also just be the connection cord from your laptop to your camera. Super light, right?
Yeah.
Easy to pack with your various cords.
I mean, it gets difficult. Like these Africa trips, or anytime you're traveling late, but like Africa trips, like wildlife safaris, we're on small bush planes. You know, when we go into Tanzania or Botswana, the maximum that you can have for that bush plane flight is 50 pounds, and that's your clothes and your gear. So then I get the question, well, do I bring the lens or the underwear? Lens or the underwear?
The lens.
Lens. But you know, these camps, like we have a camp that we actually are part owners in Tanzania. You can do laundry daily for like $1. It's cheap, you know. Right. So we get this question a lot. How do you research your locations? And it really is, I mean, so much easier than it used to be. Obviously, we have Google now, right? We have books and talking to others. You can do all that. There's a lot of people that have traveled. You can go and see what they've done. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens with that is that then people get stuck on certain locations because they've seen this is the place to photograph. So then everybody is there to photograph that place. Example, we were just in Angkor Wat. Anybody been to Cambodia to Angkor Wat? Okay. Anybody there at sunrise at Angkor Wat when the sun comes up? And how many people were there? Well, so not the main complex at sunrise. But where did you go?
What year?
COVID. Long time ago. Okay. So to give you an example, we were just there again a couple weeks ago, and 2 hours before sunrise. All right. So we're talking like 4:30 in the morning. Easily 2,000 to 3,000 people. Easily 2,000 to 3,000 people because it's become the place. But what people don't realize is you can get that quick classic shot of the sun coming up over main Angkor Wat area. And then while everybody's still there, you can walk down and to the right-hand side, and there's maybe 5 people in that whole area photographing, right? So how do you know these things? You have a great guide. So we're going to talk about that. But time of year, you know, I'm all good with going shoulder seasons. Like you will not see me in Italy in June, July, August, September. You just won't see me there. People, if you ask them if they've been to Venice and they go, I love Venice, then you know that they've been there in the shoulder season. If they go, I hate Venice,
Winter.
they've been, yeah. If they hate Venice, they've been there in July. Right? Hot, stinky, you know. So
We don't mind jacket weather. I mean, I prefer that to hot anyway, so.
yeah, absolutely.
We went to the Galapagos in September and it was perfect.
That's when we're going. Yeah.
There was nobody there. It was perfect.
Snorkeling was
The weather
great.
was wonderful.
Did you hear that, my Galapagos friends?
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's
Is
good.
that a
That's,
good thing that I
that's
said?
good. We're going in September. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
We went east and north, and every single animal was there that was supposed to be there because it wasn't hot. They were all.
Sea life
Sorry, I
comes
could.
up. Sea life's coming up. Yeah. And we'll be in Ecuador and the Amazon as well. So all of that, it's still hot. There's no, you know, like in Cambodia, they say there's hot and hotter, right? But it's the same, but it's not crazy hot and it's a lot less people. June, July, August. So many people, right? So do we pick iconic locations? Yes. Because those are this is a good example. Again, Vietnam. We're just in Vietnam. And I swear I don't want to go to Halong Bay again. Who's been to Vietnam? Anybody? Not during the 60s. It's like, well, yeah, I was in Da Nang. I was stationed in the... No, that's not what I mean. But Halong Bay, we were 50, 60, 70 ships in Halong Bay. There's no sunset, sunrise. It's just crazy. You go an hour to Ninh Binh, get up early. There's nobody along the river, right? So the problem is that you, the people we're trying to tell to go on a tour to go, but I got to go to Halong Bay. You know, I got to see it. Well, you know, so sometimes it's like Angkor Wat is another example. Angkor Wat is 200 temples. There's the main temple, but we spend most of our time at other temples. The Jungle Temple, the very famous one, we're there at 6:37 in the morning and alone. And by the way, you saw some of the drone shots from Cambodia in that film. Just so you know, we don't allow you to bring a drone unless you're permitted for it. We get very special permits. Those drone shots were taken by Toby on a recent trip, and he's
An escort.
with an escort, with a permitted escort. Yeah. So,
All right, and you say permitted, you mean country permitted, or you get it here, you get
no,
licensed here?
the country and that particular whoever's in charge, like Angkor Wat, they'll arrest you. I mean, you know, so it's important. Antarctica. Toby is one of the few that have been able to get permits to film in Antarctica, to the point one day he gets an email and it's the management of Metallica, and they saw it and they bought his film and used it in one of the concerts. And so that's pretty cool. So, but you can't just go fly. And you know what? Listen, guys, I love drones. I don't have one anymore because I've crashed way too many of them. So I just let Toby have it. But here's the deal, right? I love drones, but I'm the same. I do not want to see 30 drones flying around El Capitan. I don't either, you know? So, so how do we do what we do? And this is whether you're going in a small group or you're going by yourself. And it is right here, guides. You want to go to Mongolia, you can't go with us. That's your guide. Without a doubt. You want to go into Petra? That's your gal. Amazing. You know, we get access to Petra now. We get access to Petra at night by ourselves with nobody else. We're the only tour group that's ever been allowed to do that. They do a nighttime thing that they allow guests into with candles. That's its own big thing. But this is by ourselves. Why? Because the Ministry of Tourism in Jordan, she's friends with, and we said, well, can we give them a bunch of the photographs we've taken and they're welcome to use them? Next time we went, guess what? Access, right? That's her about 2 or 3 years ago. You can see she's much smaller there. But those eagles are 8-foot wingspans. But guides, you know, you're in a place like Egypt, right? I don't know what that says. It's not always about just, we were just talking about Egypt as well. And it's like, look, when we go to Egypt, it's not photographically the most incredible, exciting animal wildlife or any of that stuff. It's history. So let's make sure we have a good Egyptologist. It brings it alive. By the way, Petra, you guys are familiar with this, I'm sure. You may, anybody been there? So I just met, you guys know Expedition Unknown, Josh Gates? It's on Discovery Channel. You got to watch this episode. I still have to watch it, but I just saw him speak. And just this last year, right in front of, this is called the library, with sonar, they found graves and they dug down 12 feet and they found all kinds of graves. They still don't know who these people were or what's up or anything. Yeah, it's really quite interesting. So right under where we were, we didn't leave any of our group there, right?
No, not that time.
Right? And of course, we photograph wildlife as well, and guides.
Yeah,
All about guides, because having guides that you know that will take you to places, into areas that they can get access to and keep you safe is important. Yeah. This does not look very good on our screen here. Oh, wow. I gotta show you that over here. It looks so much better. You know what? It even looks better over our fireplace because we have a 40 by 40 inch paraffin. Okay. Let's see. Who's been to Tanzania with us? John, Kim, Mark, Pam. Okay. Mark, you haven't been to our new camp.
Okay.
You haven't been to our new camp. Oh, yeah. That was just an idea when you were
Next
there.
year.
Yeah, we built the camp. Okay. Yeah. So, but you guys can all attest to having good guides.
I got a pictures 3x4 of that leopard that we got that first night we were there.
The one that was walking by us? I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
The one that was just
At
covered
twilight,
in
yeah.
ice.
Yes. Yeah. Twilight.
Right after dusk.
Yep. You got a big one of that. Do you remember, like, well, all of you guys, the key was being in a group that you could sit there and the guides, they know what they're doing. They know the behaviors. They're paying attention to what's going on. We are in some of the places in the Serengeti that are super busy. And what happens is because I know some Swahili, I can pick up on what they're saying. And literally on this last trip, we were in Tanzania, in the Serengeti by the Serenera airstrip. And there was a young guide and he had a couple in the back that were French. And he's speaking to our guide. And what he was doing was asking for directions to where they could get gas. And I'm like, I know where the gas station is in the Serengeti. There's only one. And I'm like, this couple had no idea that they were thrown in with a young guide out of guide school that had no business being there. And, you know, one day in the Serengeti, right? So guides, you know, and that's why I say, look, whether you go with us or not, you should go with us. But if you're going somewhere and you're like, look, David, we're going on this trip. We need somebody. Do you know anybody in this area? If we do, I love sharing who our guides are. It blesses them with work, you know, whether you can go with us or not. So I absolutely pass us an email. All right. I just have to, there's no stories here. I'm just showing you.
Our guides have got us to all these places.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Freeman, you guys did this. You guys getting a theme here of our clients? The idea is once we get you.
And they're alive to tell about it.
Yes.
So let me ask you.
We've heard some stories.
I bet. How close did you get to some of these brown bears?
Yeah, about this far.
About from here to there, yeah?
Yeah, well, then we gave Toby the spray.
There's the bear spray. And you know, because you're with the right guides and you're safe, Trevor is a good example and all that. It's all about behavior though, right? It's about behavior, yeah? So getting into places, being able to do things, the crossings at the Masai Mara, all of those things are because we have great guides. I wish I could say it was about us. It's not. It's about us getting the right people.
You know, when we got home,
After the crossing,
crossing, and I mean, my eyes aren't what they, so I was shocked. I just put on the rapid. I get home, let's get home, and behind them going across are two,
Cross, big cross.
and they're on the rock behind you, which are miles open. They're fighting over who's gonna go get, you know.
you go get them, George. No, you go get them. But you know what happened at the Masai Mara, and this is another situation with guides. You saw how many vehicles are there.
Yeah.
We will no longer actually, for right now, take people down to the Masai Mara crossings in August and September after this last year. They have not limited how many vehicles they allow. And what did we see when we were down there? You have all the vehicles lined up, and then you see guides going forward before they're supposed to. And then you see the crossing deciding to not go. Right? And so because they're freaking them out. So we're doing crossings in another location in June now that's in a different area that nobody goes to. But it's because everybody's heard you got to go. And so now you have 100 vehicles rushing to when a crossing happens. And it's just gotten insane and dangerous. Guides.
That's beautiful.
You know, I didn't get it. That's beautiful. And that's Allie's photograph. Why didn't I get it? That's beautiful here.
That goes to figure out.
That is. You were
It's
just
changed
there.
though.
Yeah, we were just there.
This one isn't there anymore. There's a couple
Oh,
others.
there's
now.
two?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the one we saw was leaning a little.
It's
more.
that tree, honey. It's just not that up anymore.
Oh, that's what it, yeah.
Oh.
It's the same tree. Yeah.
Leaning.
Where
Okay.
is that?
In
Yellowstone in the winter. This is our first snow coach trip, so I don't remember what year that was, but guides getting us in early, being first, and obviously God with the weather, but
That was black and white infrared again. Anybody familiar with infrared film photography back in the day? Yeah? Oh, some of you?
it has a really dramatic effect. Yeah.
What'd you shoot that with? What was the lens you shot that with?
Probably 20 millimeter.
You're 17 to,
No, that was before that.
oh, it was before that. It's older. Yeah, okay, yeah. But her infrared, so you notice like these actually can be dark trees. They turn, it has to do with the, what do you call it? Photosynthesis. Yeah, in the mist. Okay, guides. You guys were just in Yellowstone. Did you have Saeed and Riley, right?
Yeah,
And I heard Riley was awesome.
Riley was awesome.
Yeah.
She knew everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was great. And
Yeah.
Saeed was one that had been there for 14 years and Riley less time, but she
Super knowledgeable.
had every answer.
And you guys got in at 7.
Oh, we were the only people. It was the opposite of the summer
And you know, Saeed doesn't do snow coach trips anymore. He only does them once a year for
for us.
us.
And then snowmobiles.
And then all he does is snow sleds, yeah. And that's because I heard you get pulled over.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I heard about that too.
Got surrounded
By bison.
by bison.
But they got you safe.
They did. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we felt safe.
That's the Dolomites of Valley's black and white infrared. Her infrared stuff's pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah, but our guide,
Yeah. Yes, it is.
our guide's driving us up the little road, so we didn't have to hike all that way.
The time you got that light, the light on the dock is just.
Yeah, we waited for it, but yeah. probably couldn't have hiked it.
All right, so a couple more practical things here, and then we'll open up. We got a few more things, then we'll open up for some questions. We do this exact program much more in depth. We've done it over 6 hours, 3 hours, and an hour and 15 hour and a half, right? So we kind of move through some of it fast, but you need to understand this. Things are going to go wrong. I try and tell our groups ahead of time, things will go wrong because they will. And sometimes we're going to go left or we should have gone right, but you don't know. Maybe sometimes that ends up being the best thing. I'll tell you right now, we would love for you to come on a tour with us, but if you need to know that at 7:30 tomorrow morning, we're at this spot, and then at 7:34, we're here, and then at 7:30, we're not the tour for you. Why? Because we don't photograph that way. I could easily set it up like Toby and Steve, where your guides are, obviously we love them. They worked with us for years and years and years. But they can go and do, and based on what they see, what the light is doing, what needs to happen. Not because at 8 you should be here, checklist. At 9 you should be here, because that's not how it should always work. Now, sometimes we have to do that, depending on the situation, dinners being served at a hotel, that kind of thing. But yeah.
We saw one wolf sitting like way behind some smoke. It was black. It was like the most beautiful thing, but it was hard to get a shot of. We went to Old Faithful. Then the bus driver, Saeed, said, well, let's go eat our lunch where those wolves were. And that's what I'm saying. They just randomly chose like, hey, let's not go what we're going to do. Let's go chill at these wolves. And we go back and there's the whole pack of 15 in one shot.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. Yeah.
That's cool.
Goosebumps.
And Toby, he said he's only seen wolves twice in 10 years going there.
Yeah. And that's the Whoppy pack now that's down in
Yeah.
that area. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's cool. And that's it. So, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how things are going to go, but you have to always be thinking, it might open up another possibility that never was even there.
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Flexibility. But you said we're gonna be here. I said flexibility. All right, because it's gonna happen. Things are gonna go wrong, and travel insurance is a must. And here's the thing, okay? I was just on a trip, this last year, Doug and Alicia, Lonnie, and Gage, and you guys weren't in the stands.
Yeah, it happened right after we.
Yeah, so here's a good example, all right? Picture this. We're having a great time. We're in Uzbekistan. We're waiting for the train. I go to talk to Doug. I don't remember what happened next because I woke up with a pool of blood all over my head because I had fainted. And Doug didn't catch me.
That's right. You went the wrong way. It wasn't my fault.
So if Doug's next to you, I'm telling you, he won't catch you. This is true. Out of nowhere. Bam. Right? And what happened? Well, thankfully, I've lost a lot of weight. Bad part about it was, it's a good thing. I took blood pressure medication for years. I no longer needed blood pressure medication. That's a good thing. It's a bad thing to find out when you're standing next to Doug who doesn't give a shit about you. Once you fall on back your head. That's right. We're supposed to about that. No. You know what? It was everybody was so helpful. I ended up getting to a doctor and all that. That's the story. I didn't know what it was going to cost, and I wasn't worried about it. To the point that these guys know this, I went back the next day to have my arteries checked because we didn't know what was going on. First of all, let me just say this. Great medical care. It was free. I went to get my arteries checked at a private hospital, the most expensive one. It was $20. Okay. But what I didn't know was it was the blood pressure medications. It could have been, you've got a serious problem. We've got to get you home. Now you're talking $250,000 life flight. So when people say to me, travel insurance, have your travel insurance.
I had a surgery in Germany. We weren't worried about it.
And you're not talking travel insurance for like if the trip gets canceled or stuff?
Yes, I am. Talking about all of it.
We have
Anybody in here had a trip Oh, Pam. Never had a trip canceled, have you? Never had COVID on a ship in Antarctic, have you?
Didn't have.
Oh, but you still had to quarantine because your roommate did, right? Yeah.
We
So-
have, we have a broker that will break it
I got it
down.
next.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll show you, yeah, so you want all of this stuff, right? And again, this is all gonna be, I'll send this to you. Just make sure I have your email list. I have a sign up for emails up here afterwards. But this is what I'm talking about travel insurance. And my clients can attest that I have you from the moment you sign up. The moment you sign up in the contracts and forms highlighted in yellow is travel insurance. After you sign up, you get an email that says travel insurance. Then you get another email down the road. Why don't I have your travel insurance? Then you get another email that says travel insurance, and it's in the tour pack. And when I talk about travel insurance, I'm not talking about just medical, although yes, that happens. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and they say, and it's usually close to the tour. It's not always very far out from the tour. A lot of times it's a week or 2 weeks before the tour, and it's, this happened. I never expected it. I can't go. I just had somebody lose $13,000 on the trip. $13,000. She's been on several trips. She knows all about it. Her sister, unfortunately, was in a horrific accident. She's got to be your caretaker. She didn't have insurance. There's nothing I can do. Now, if I can resell that trip, I'm happy to do it. Okay. There's a lot of work involved in that. It takes us typically about 16 hours just to transfer one name. People don't realize that. That's a lot of time. But if I can, I'll do what I can. But if it's a week before, 2 weeks before, a month before, 2 months before on a big trip, probably not going to happen. So when I say travel insurance, I'm talking about covering your cancellation. And a lot of people say, well, my medical, my Kaiser, my whatever covers it. Yeah, try telling that to the doctor and whatever, and they want to know what's happening and, that you're dealing with all that. It's so nice. Brandon, you can get it through whoever you want. We recommend Brandon. He won't sell you the cheapest. He'll sell you what you need. That's why we like it. The other thing I can say about Brandon is if you've had a travel insurance claim like Pam has, anybody else in here that's my clients has had a claim yet? But Pam, you have, it's a pain in the ass. It's a month, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months sometimes before they pay up.
And because of having an advocate, as part of the plan, I didn't have to do whatever.
No, we call Brandon. Brandon calls the back office of whoever, because he's a broker. So that's why we recommend that. All right. So I'm again an email away if you want to ask about travel insurance. To the point what I can say legally. In other words, I can't tell you certain things. I can tell you though you should have it. And I'm amazed how many people don't. Gear insurance. How many of you in here have ever charged $1 or more for a picture? You have? Okay.
No.
Have you ever charged anything for a photograph you've taken? Okay. If you have, and the insurance company finds that out when you're putting a claim in for stolen gear, they will deny it because you are now a professional photographer. So for $27 a month, you can get amazing education, but it also covers up to $15,000 worth of gear for a $250 deductible. That's broken gear, that's stolen gear. So that's another thing we recommend. Oh, and drone coverage if you are flying a drone. Basic stuff, again, just kind of going fast here. We'll send all that out to you. And then a few practical things that Ally is really good at, because typically what happens when we're traveling together is I complain about what Ally's carrying, and then about halfway through the trip, I need something that Ally's carrying. Sounds normal?
Yeah. Yeah, some things I wouldn't go without, so to speak. A little power strip, a travel power strip is really handy. Because we have a lot of stuff to charge usually, right? And sometimes, how many outlets are there in the room? It's across the room from the bed, of course. This international adapter, it's not a converter. It's just an adapter for the plug. You plug this into any country, plug it into the wall, plug your power strip into that. Sometimes these little guys don't like to stay in the wall. Have you had that?
Yeah.
Bring some gaff tape. Not the whole 20-pound roll, but
She does, because that's when I start
No,
talking.
I don't.
She puts it over.
I put 4 or 5 pieces of gaff tape right on my power strip. I always have a little piece and tape that little guy up so it doesn't fall off the wall. And you're set for that. And we've definitely been using eye tags. So in your suitcase, in your camera bag, and I probably have about 15 of them now. My wallet. I mean, the list goes on. You have that one car that only has one car key. Definitely that one. You can track your stuff right on your phone. You can see where it's at. I found out where your bag was in Mongolia that one time when Osa took you shopping for underwear.
Wait, time out. Wait a minute, there's more to the story here.
His luggage didn't come. The eye tag was mine in his case. I was home. He was in Mongolia. And I'm like, oh yeah, I see it's a blah, blah, blah.
Saw it was in Amsterdam.
Yes. I even told them what exact gate it was outside of.
Yeah.
That helps them.
And now the airlines, they've been against that. Now they're actually saying, where do you sit? They've actually put in protocols lately about that. Steve was in Norway, getting ready to go on the Arctic trip, and he went to Scandinavian Airlines. They let him go down to where the baggage was. He started playing. He kept hearing the beep, and went right to where it was, and found it was during the strike that they were having, and found his luggage and pulled it. So these are a big deal. Now let's explain the underwear comment. I had no underwear,
no clothes,
and also I weighed about 60 pounds more. And as you can see from Mongolia, people, they're smaller. So finding underwear was difficult. I'm trying to put on sweatpants in the Mongolia store. It says 2XL. That's not 2XL. I walk out. I'm like, it's important also on these. I don't know if you heard Ally say that. A lot of people feel like they need to take a transformer. You don't. Just your electronics are 110 to 240 a lot of times, or 110 to 220. You don't need the actual transformer. You just need it to plug into the wall and it will automatically convert on your electronics. Exception is you always find hair dryers. What's the deal with the hair dryers? You can't turn them on.
50 cycle versus 60 cycle.
Well, no, I'm much more simple than that. I have a travel hair dryer. Sometimes they have a switch. You can go 120 to 220, but I've just figured out low is high. If you turn it on high and your blow dryer is going,
it's smoke's coming out of the wall. It's like that time in Italy, our first trips in Italy, and you shut the power off to the entire building.
But yeah, low is high. And if it starts smoking, turn it off.
Guys, a couple other practical things. Always carry 2 credit cards. MasterCard, Visa. One could get stolen. One could get used somewhere, and then your SOL, and cash is king. We always travel with $1,000 to $1,500 cash wherever we go in the world, and no tears or marks in those bills.
American Express is accepted in a lot of hotels and airports,
But not
usually not with the local vendors.
Yeah.
Right.
And again, packing, security, all of those things. I'm just going to say this real quick. We got to leave time for questions here. So the one thing I will say is when we go to Mongolia, we go to Tanzania, the number one question we get is not about, what gear should I have? It's always about how am I going to make this work? Will the airlines allow me onto the airline? Now in the US, it's very rare that they say, oh, you can't bring that on and put it in your overhead. Small local flights, domestic flights, a lot of times they do. In Mongolia, depends on the gate. It always depends on the gate agent. Depends on what kind of day they're having. Depends on if they're being looked at and through a camera by their supervisor. All of that matters. So a couple things, all right? We tell everybody, have a jacket or a vest ready to stuff stuff in. We got a couple videos on that we do that we send out to our tour groups. It's also on our YouTube channel. And the reality is this, if you go up and you look like you're carrying a lot of stuff, there's a much more chance of them wanting to weigh your stuff. If you go up and you've got it in a backpack, less of a chance. But if they want to weigh it or tag it, okay, and they say it's too much, no problem. They don't weigh you. Take a camera, put it around you, take a camera, put it around you, take a lens, put it in your pocket, take it, there it is. Oh, good, you're fine. Good, you pull it out, you do it right in front of them. You shake it, no, you don't. You walk around the corner, stuff it all back in.
Dumbest thing ever, and they know it. It's just
They have to
one
fill
of
their
those
little.
things you have to jump through the.
But that is the number one question. That's what's going to happen when you go to Mongolia. How do I get all this on the small plane? We'll get it on the plane. You just have to be ready to put it somewhere. Flexible. Yeah. Allie and I are walking through the. All right, guys. There is this. I'll give it to you again after the show. But if you want to come see us at the travel show coming up, that is the code that you can get your free tickets or take a picture of it right now. So that Saturday or Sunday, you can go on to the Travel and Adventure Show website, E25 McKay 100 should get you a ticket. I believe you can only do it for one day, but if you want to come back a second day, I think you can put it in again.
You can get 5.
Huh?
You can get 5.
It lets you get 5 at a time?
And you can go back in and get a second day.
You did do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, good to know.
Because you emailed me, right? Was it you that emailed?
I
Who
don't
emailed me about that? It's me. Okay. All right. So
Like,
that,
People are still taking.
oh, still taking pictures?
Yeah, it was pretty easy to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
They're fun.
And I just want to finish with one last final thought about how photography changed the world. Some of you have been to our camp in Tanzania. For those of you that don't know, Allie and I, we've been going to Tanzania since 2014. People tell us this all the time. They say, hey, we went for the wildlife and we came home in love with the people. We always hear it all the time, to the point at the end of the trip, tears, 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 because you are in love with the folks that are there with you and serve you. A couple years ago, Mark was on the trip, and we got our guide, who's not in this picture, Leonard, who many of you have met, said to me while we were driving, he goes, you know what my dream is? And I went, He goes, my dream is to own a camp. But this time I couldn't let it go. I just couldn't let it go. I'm like, I have no idea. We just come out of COVID. I'm like, how in the world? And I texted Allie and I said, Allie, I think there's a way that we could maybe do a camp. And her response, I cannot tell you in this room because it was really used an F word, but it wasn't the flexibility word.
Oh, because right before you left, I got too much on my plate. I just can't.
Now, I'm like, we can do a camp, right? Mark knows the story. I started asking people, hey, if we started doing this, like if you went on a safari with us in the future and you were going to pay this amount of money, but it was less money, and you knew that we didn't have to pay a middleman, but you had to trust us that that profit was going to go into building a camp, would anybody be interested? Long and short of that, we had over 60 people that, so 6 tours that helped us build this camp.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some of them are here right now.
Yeah.
3 of them are here. And 3 have been to this camp. This is Dancing Duma. We now employ 17 people. I will get really teary-eyed here in a second, because if you would have told me again 10, 12, 13 years ago that I would travel, that would be something. If you would have told Allie and I that we were going to have an impact in people's lives because of photography, because of being able to teach people something like photography that could change lives, and that's what makes us tick. So I want to encourage you, because that's what we've been gifted with, but you all are gifted with something. You all have people in your lives, people that you can connect with that we'll never connect with, right? You all have gifts, whether it's photography, whatever it is. You know, Kim, I'm going to speak highly of you. Kim is our accountant. She's been our accountant for years, but Kim has been to our camp and she's helping us set up the 501(c) for these people's kids to go to school that a lot of people have already said they want to help with, right? That's the power of photography. So we do have an amazing camp. It's a great place to sit and have a drink and hang out at the Serengeti and change people's lives and be on an incredible wildlife safari. So I want to leave you with that. We want to leave you with that because, again, we want you to realize that this whole thing for us, whenever you go on a trip with us, hopefully is much bigger than just, again, some kind of transaction. Hopefully we get folks that now are our friends, and you guys are our friends. You'll be my friends, I promise.
Should be.
Look at the North Pole and the South Pole in the same year when she was,
75.
my gosh,
Dang.
in the same year. Thank you, everybody. Questions? We can turn on some lights. We can take some questions. But thank you guys for letting us share. Any questions? We got about 5 minutes. Any questions? Oh, good. We covered it all. Great. Awesome.
Comment.
Okay.
Thank you very much for taking your time and doing this and letting us, in on it a little bit more than standing at the show and talking to you briefly.
Yeah.
But I love your message about that whole like understanding culture and kindness. Because when like we were in the Galapagos Islands, we had a situation where we were at Darwin Bay with the Galapagos penguins. They didn't think that we were gonna see any. We all got back on the panga. I was still out in the water and they started kind of popping out. And it was the panga driver, because we had been nice to him and chatted with him all week long. He pulled out his own cell phone to video of me swimming with these two little penguins for about 5 minutes, and he got it to me. So, I mean, I wish that people in this time period would just consider kindness just on a daily basis, but it's a great message. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's awesome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I just have two things to say. First thing is, a lot of times you say, I don't have the money for it, I don't have the time for it. Make time, because it really is something you can take to the last breath you take on this earth because of the experiences you've had. And I can also say that getting into David and Ally's tours, jump on them as quickly as possible because they felt like hot cakes. And I can't say, all I can say is I've been on a lot of different tours, and by far, because of the experience of getting to know the people and putting down your camera, I can't begin to explain the feeling you get. I can't wait to go back to Mongolia. Oh, so. So all I can say is, go to the travel show, look around, but there.
But it ended up at our booth.
Just photos. It really makes a difference. So when you put the camera down, I was rolling my eyes.
Well,
Until I realized that's what you need to do to really get to know the people. And it only makes enriches your experience to be in that country. So I'll leave it to that.
I just want to say to you, I have an email list up here. If you guys do want a copy of this, oh, no, not that. Ah! If you want a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, I'll send it. The other thing that I'll do is I will send out, I've just recreated, we have this little pamphlet that has all kinds of settings and things like that, but I've just done a new one and I just finished it up. It's going to print, and I'll send you that as a PDF. It's really, really good. I'll send you that. And I have a brand new book coming out. I've had a few bestseller books, but it's been almost 10 years since I released the book. This one is going to have 2 books in one. It's the same books, but with all new technology, new thoughts, new assignments, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be $10 for the electronic version on Amazon, but I have a book launch team that's going right now. Some of you have already signed up for that. And if you get on my book launch team, here's the deal. You're going to get a 4-day option to go on Amazon, buy it for 99 cents. All I ask in return is that you put a review in, an honest review, 5 stars only. Because that then puts it in the analytics where Amazon picks it up and starts sending it to the masses. So if you want that also, I'll send an email out about that. You can either write your name down or use your phone to get on our email list. What I'll do is, if you're already on our email list and you want this PowerPoint presentation, I will look and see, who was here, and then I'll send that out to you guys too. You guys can pass that back if you want.